What's up, you guys? Today let's talk about the 32 different tactics that narcissists use to manipulate people. And that's right, we have a lot to go through, and I want to make this as quick but as informative as possible. So I'm going to try to bust through these, and as long as my math is correct, we have 32 of them. And let's just start going through these so that you know what you're up against when a narcissist tries to maybe use these against you. And what I really like about being aware of this list is that now that you know the tactics that can be used against you in this type of a relationship, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist of your own, you're going to be able to recognize what tactic is being used against you, and having that knowledge is really important. And as I've talked about before, in the relationship that I was in, I came up across a lot of stuff that I was never used to encountering with anybody else in any other relationship that I had been in before. And it put me in a really tough spot where I talked about how empaths really just, you always try to see the better in people. You take a lot of responsibility for yourself, and so it's easy to fall for these tactics. And if you're not aware of them, there's really not much that you can do about them, because you don't really know what you're up against. I used the analogy in one of my other videos where I talked about, it was one of my previous videos, now I forget which one, but I talked about Floyd Mayweather, for example, and how he is able to get in the ring and he learns somebody else's boxing style. And by knowing exactly how the other person is boxing, he changes his own boxing style to take away their strengths and to use their weaknesses against them. And he changes his own boxing style to be able to beat every person that he's faced in the ring before. So by becoming aware of the tactics that are being used against you, you can change yourself to be able to combat these tactics and take care of yourself and your emotions and your health. And especially your mental and emotional health when you're coming across the emotional abuse that comes along with being in a relationship with a narcissist. So if you want to see some more of my story and some of the other stuff I've talked about, feel free to check out some of my other videos. So with that being said, let's move straight into it. Now, as we've talked about before, there's 3 different phases in a narcissistic relationship. The first stage is the love bombing stage. That is where they're going to shower you with intense amount of love. The second stage is the devaluing stage. That is where they're going to make you feel absolutely terrible about your own self-esteem so that they can control you. And finally, you get to the discard phase, and there's different tactics that are used within each of these stages. Within the love bombing stage, I'm going to be talking about the 4 most common tactics. Within the devaluing stage, we're going to be talking about the 23 most common tactics. And the discard phase, the 5 most common tactics. So we're really going to go through every single stage of a relationship, of a narcissistic relationship, in this video, so you know exactly what you're going up against. So let's move forward on into this. So the first stage, love bombing stage, the first tactic that can be used against you, first of all, is attention. And it's as simple as that. And now this, when you come across the love bombing stage, this stage is really going to be, you're not really going to know what's going on. You're not going to know you're dealing with a narcissist. And so this is just to be aware of. When you're looking at things in hindsight, you're going to notice these type of things. First of all, this person most likely is going to shower you with attention. Now, maybe you just meet a really awesome person, but maybe you don't, and you never really know. So it's okay to keep on trusting people as you're going through this part. However, this can quickly turn into this person giving you a lot of compliments and a lot of gifts down the road. Those are the other 2 tactics that can be used, because by giving you compliments, you're going to feel more appreciation for this person, because, I mean, who doesn't like compliments, right? And then there can also come gifts. Gifts is the next manipulation tactic within the love bombing stage. And all this does is set the groundwork for them to control you later on down the line. By giving you gifts, you don't realize it at this time, but these gifts can be used against you later. Now, gifts are just supposed to come freely when you care about someone. You know, you give a gift without any strings attached. When you are dealing with a narcissist, you're not going to know it at this stage, but these gifts may come with strings attached. And that's the difficult thing about accepting these type of gifts, is that, of course, like, who doesn't want a nice little gift, especially if it's coming from a genuine place that seems awesome. And it's up to your discernment to recognize if these gifts are actually coming from a genuine spot or not. And if you think they are, you can take the chance in accepting these gifts. But it's important to be aware that later on down the line, if you're ever in an argument and they say, well, I got you this and you never got me anything, that is a sign that someone was giving you gifts with strings attached, and that's not good. Now, this fourth tactic I think is really important, because this one really lays a lot of the groundwork for a person to be able to control you later on down the future. And this would be sharing intimate moments with another person, with a narcissist. Now, this can come in the form of having a heart-to-heart, where you are really talking about deep things with this other person that makes you feel like you're truly connected with this person, that like all of a sudden this friendship or relationship that you're starting is getting really deep, maybe really quick, and you're sharing some really intimate stuff with each other. Now, the problem this causes for you later on down the line is that these feelings that you're going to share with this person may be used against you in the devaluing stage. So be aware that this manipulation tactic is really just laying the groundwork for you, and be careful of what you share, because it may come with a sting later. So if there's some things that you don't feel comfortable sharing with a person right away, it's okay to not share them until you are aware that maybe you're dealing with a genuine person who's not going to use these things against you. Now, this moves us straight into the first tactic of the devaluing stage, which is using those intimate moments against you. You want to be able to avoid this at all costs, because it comes with an unnecessary sting that's just really not cool. Next one is gaslighting. Now, I wasn't really familiar with gaslighting until I had entered my previous relationship, but it was clear that over time that gaslighting is what is used to be able to make you question your own reality instead of trusting yourself. They will make you question what you believe to be true. They will make you question even your memory of stuff. They will tell you they remember things perfectly and maybe you don't, when you know as a fact that you are remembering things accurately. They will make you feel like you're not. And the whole purpose of this manipulation tactic is to get you to distrust yourself. And by getting yourself to separate from your true core what you know and believe to be accurate and true, they can get you to separate from that, and then they can control you by getting you to trust them more than you trust yourself. Let me let my dog in real quick. Hey, pups. Hey, if you haven't met my doggy before, here he is. Look at this little guy. Okay, so the next tactic used in the devaluing stage is hot and cold games, where there will be times where they're fully into you, they're giving you their full attention, and then other times where it seems like you can't get through to them no matter what. And these hot and cold games just serve to make you constantly confused about what the heck is going on in the relationship, and the more that they can fill your mind up with thoughts of them rather than what you're supposed to be doing in life, the more that they will be able to control you, because you will slowly begin to mess up the wiring inside of your own brain to be concerned mostly with the relationship rather than mostly concerned about what the heck is going on with your life. The next manipulation tactic in the devaluing stage is projection. By using projection, they will project their own actions and what they do towards you, and they will say that you do it towards them. And this comes with a really dangerous sting to it, because it is possible for many people who are self-reflective to give the other person the benefit of the doubt, and then all of a sudden you're taking responsibility for their actions that they did, but you're saying that you did it. So then again, this causes the confusion inside of your own mind, where you start trusting yourself less and you start trusting them more. The next manipulation tactic is called word salad. Now, what's interesting about this manipulation tactic is that they will use words to, especially in an argument, to make you have a conversation with them that completely does not even make sense anymore from what you originally started talking about. And if you start talking about a serious subject within a relationship that needs to be addressed, you should stay on that serious subject until that resolution comes to an end. with a word salad, so many things will come out of left field that don't even make any sense in the context of the conversation that you're having, that all of a sudden you won't even be talking about the thing that you're supposed to be talking about. And then you go down a rabbit hole that doesn't even make sense. And then you don't get any resolution for the conflict that you originally entered into. Now, I have my notes down here, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I'm looking at these as we go along. The next manipulation tactic is misrepresenting your words to mean something that they didn't. Now, this can be as simple as you mentioned one sentence weeks ago or months ago or a few days ago, and that one little sentence is taken out of context and used against you by putting a completely different spin on it to mean something that it wasn't supposed to mean. Again, in this way, it is used to control you by making you feel like you can't trust yourself. And that thing that is meant now, all of a sudden you have to apologize for something that it wasn't actually supposed to mean. Now, this one is interesting. This is destructive criticism posed as or camouflaged as constructive criticism. And now I remember specifically one time where I was having a discussion with my ex-girlfriend, and she said to me something along the lines that we were having an argument, and she said something kind of like mean towards me, and I told her she was being unnecessarily rude. And she told me that the only reason I was offended was because I wasn't used to being criticized before, because everyone was always nice to me. And I just remember thinking in that moment, what gives you the right to put yourself in such a superior place to me that all of a sudden you're saying you can criticize me unfairly as much as you want, when that doesn't even make full sense. And she was being personally insulting rather than being constructively criticizing. There's a big difference between constructive and destructive criticism, and they will try to camouflage the two. And the destructive criticism especially can come with personal attacks, such as saying things as you're stupid and you're dumb, why do you that kind of stuff, rather than actually discussing the issue at hand. They will personally attack you as a person rather than the actual discussion of the issue that you're supposed to be having. Next is aggressive jabs disguised as jokes. Now, gosh, man, I have so many experiences with this one, that the other person will say things to you that don't even make sense and as a joke. And they will find a way to pass it off as, oh no, I was just kidding. Why did you take it that way? You're so sensitive and whatnot. And it's really important to know that there's a big difference between kind-hearted jokes and destructive jokes. And when these jokes get piled on over time, especially, they can wear you down quite a bit. And it's important to not be worn down by these jokes when they're used against you so often. The next thing you could possibly deal with is triangulation. They will separate you from the people that you love and that you care about so that they can have control over you. The next will be placing themselves in a superior position to you so that you will rely on guidance and approval from them rather than from anybody else. And as long as you keep going back to them for the guidance and approval that you might need in your life for any specific thing, they can control you in the direction that you're headed in life. The next thing is the intermittent reinforcement. And this is coming from the Pavlov's dogs experiment, where if you give intermittent reinforcement, and sometimes really good reinforcement and sometimes not at all, for a certain behavior or action, they can kind of get you actually mentally addicted and change the wiring in your brain to get you addicted to wanting to do something for them, or being just or not necessarily maybe doing something for them, but looking for their guidance and for their approval, because by you consistently trying to make them happy and them giving you intermittent reinforcement, they can control you better than they could if they hadn't given you intermittent reinforcement. And that's just because of the way our psychology is made. So it's really important to notice if they also use this with the next tactic that we were talking about, which is amplification. Amplification is when they will make a big deal out of all of your shortcomings, and they will make a small deal out of all your wins in life. And if they can do this properly, it will make you feel like a failure. It will make you feel down on yourself, and then they can use that to control you. Much better off than if they hadn't done that. So I don't know if you can tell by this point, but really the common thing between all these tactics is it comes down to controlling you. I've used this analogy before where this other person is just trying to get a leash on you so that you will keep becoming dependent on them, and they have guaranteed their certainty and security by controlling you as a person. So the next one is preemptive defense. And preemptive defense can be difficult to spot, but also sometimes it can be so poorly placed in their communication that it comes off with a red flag. And that is when someone tells you that they are something that truly at their core they're not. And this would be like somebody saying, oh, everybody says I'm the nicest and kindest person ever, when really they're not the kindest person ever. I just remember now this meme from, I believe it was the presidential elections, where one of the guys running was like, man, I'm the most humble person ever. And it was just like, if you're really that humble, then you don't need to congratulate yourself on how humble you are, you know? The next thing is boundary testing. So the purpose of boundary testing is they will purposely push your buttons to know what triggers you. If they know what triggers you, when they're in a situation when they're losing control, they can press those buttons to trigger you again, and that way they can control you. The next thing is guilt and shame. The purpose of guilt and shame is to make you feel bad about the things you've done and to make you feel bad about the person that you are. And as long as you feel bad about who you are and your self-esteem is dropping, they will make themselves seem as the fountain of your self-esteem, and you must keep running back to them for them to compliment you so that your self-esteem goes up. And that is the dynamic they're trying to create by using this tactic. Next is monitoring. So you may feel monitored by this person. I said many times before, I don't know if I've mentioned it in these videos, but I constantly felt like in my previous relationship, I was under a microscope. It didn't matter what I do, what I would do, what was going on. I always felt like I never had any freedom to just be myself, because it felt like I was just constantly under a microscope. I was walking on eggshells, and it didn't matter what I did. Somebody was watching me at all times. The next thing is deflection, where you're trying to maybe have a communication with this person, and they're going to deflect it and to turn it into not about them, it's not their fault, or to turn it right on you, say how, you know, something like, how could you accuse them of that? Why would you ever think them of that? Next is emotional barriers. So this one I noticed was really big in my relationship. This will keep you at a distance. They will purposely keep you at a distance from them so that you can't gain any knowledge on them. See, the purpose of them getting close to you and getting into your heart and getting to know you as deeply as possible is so that they can use that information that they learn about you, and they will use it against you at times. And if you gain too much information about them, that makes them potentially feel threatened. And if they feel threatened, that's not good, then they lose control. So a lot of narcissists, what they do is they will keep you at a distance so you don't get to truly know them as a person. If you don't truly know them, then you can't do anything about them. And they're just thinking in their head, the manipulation tactic that they're using to control you, they don't want that to be used against them. So they will keep you at an arm's distance throughout the whole relationship. Next is invalidation. They will make you feel as if what you're feeling is completely blown out of proportion. Are you feeling down? Are you feeling sad negatively, and you're trying to bring it up to them to have an adult discussion with them? They will tell you that you're blowing it out of proportion. They will tell you that it's ridiculous that you're saying that and that you're being way too emotional. And yeah, I think this is more common for male narcissists, female relationships, where men in general have this tendency to make big things kind of small, and we look at men in their masculine energy. We look at things and we think, hey, that's not a problem, we can deal with that easy. So I see why this would be more common in that type of relationship. But that doesn't mean it's completely exclusive, because there were times where I brought things up to my ex-girlfriend, and she told me I was just an emotional man, and you know, so there's that. And then next is comparisons. So they will use comparisons unfairly to demean you. There's a difference between using comparisons to try to learn from a situation and try to fix problems, and using comparisons to try to demean you and make you feel worse about yourself. I remember examples in my relationship where comparisons were used to say, well, your best friend doesn't do this to this situation, and it was just like, it was just unnecessary because me and my best friend don't have any competition whatsoever, but it almost felt as if that's what it was trying to be created in these type of situations. Next is win-lose games. So instead of playing a win-win game where you come across an argument and you come to a good compromise where she wins and you wins, or, you know, unless you're a gay couple and both of you win, you know, guy, girl, whatever it is, where both of you win. Instead, it's a game where that person wins and the other person loses. Those games are not cool to play whatsoever because they're going to be the ones winning and you're going to be the one losing. Next is they put you in double lose situations. And I can remember, not any specific example off the top of my head at the moment, but I remember even saying it in discussions I was having with her, where I told her it didn't matter what I was going to do in any situation, I was going to be wrong. And that kind of led me to inaction, because it felt like whatever action I was going to take, she was just going to get mad at me for it anyway. So in these situations, you just feel like there is no right answer. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're wrong. These are double lose situations that you're put in. The next phase that we're going to be talking about is the discard phase. And this, you know, list is a lot shorter. There's only 5 tactics that I think are the most important ones. And that is going to be the silent treatment. This one's self-explained. They're just not going to talk to you. They're going to pretend like you don't exist on Earth. The next tactic that can be used is acting like they're the happiest person ever afterwards, and acting like you were the source of all their problems, that you made their life suck, and now that you're not in their life, they get to be really happy without you. Next, by the way, the purpose of that one is just to make you kind of feel like jealous and down and terrible about yourself. The next one is replacing you instantly. This one is probably happening behind your back if it did happen. That person has someone else lined up, ready to go, waiting for their turn, and they've maybe potentially been grooming that other person behind your back, and maybe you're even aware of them and you don't know what's going on with them, and you decide to trust them, but they have another person that is ready to be in a relationship with them, whether you know it or not. And this isn't true of all narcissistic relationships, but it is a common tactic used by narcissists. Now, the next one is making you feel guilt and shame about moving on. I remember I was just talking to one of my friends, how her boyfriend broke up with her, and so she started doing, you know, whatever she felt like doing, and he was making her feel bad afterwards for doing whatever she felt like doing, and she felt like it was really unfair and unjust because she was like, he broke up with her, and she just wanted to go on and move on and be happy. The next and 5th tactic used by narcissists to manipulate you in the discard phase is hoovering. And that is when, this one is really important to watch out for. That is when you as a person are starting to feel better and happier not being in this relationship, and maybe they can sense that, and they will come back in your life to ruin it. And they will start with the love bombing stage. They're like, I missed you so much, whatnot, like you're so amazing. Go right back into the love bombing stage to make you think, oh, there's a possibility that this can actually work out, when instead they will just be hoovering by till a moment until you can trust them again, so that they can go through the devaluing stage again with you to ruin how you feel about yourself, which is totally not cool. So that does it for the 32 manipulation tactics that narcissists use to try to control you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We busted out a lot in kind of a short period of time, I hope. And thank you guys for watching. Seriously, hit subscribe. Also get your legend wristband down in the corner. I feel so decorated today. Look, that, and double these plus my Fitbit. My goodness, I just feel like I got a voice workout in trying to pump all those out. All right, love you guys. See you on the next one.